So let's come ahead now with the next topic, that is bills of exchange. Now understand a point in here. The bill of exchange is a document which is drawn for the purpose of recovery of the amount due from a debtor. And this bill of exchange creates the liquidity for the company also. In a sense, अब मेरे पास कोई डेटर था जिसे मैंने गुड्स बेचे हुए थे, उस पे अगर मैं बिल ड्रॉ करता हूं तो अगेंस्ट दैट डेटर is giving me a kind of liquidity, because this bill of exchange I can transfer from myself to my creditor. I can get the money against that bill by discounting the bill. And therefore, in case of a bill of exchange, it is called as a negotiable instrument because it can be transferred from one person to another. Now, please understand a point. Bill of exchange is a legally enforceable document. Against that, the funds can be recovered from the customer. If he dishonors the same, if he does not pay the money against that, then we can have the legal recourse for the purpose of that collection. That's the basic feature of a bill of exchange. In case of a bill of exchange, basically there are three parties. The person who draws that bill, that is the creditor or supplier, is called as the drawer of the bill. The person on whom the bill is drawn, that is the debtor or customer, is called as the drawee of the bill. Generally, this bill is payable to someone. The name of a person is mentioned, that is called as the payee into the bill. Payee can be same as drawer himself as well. So there are three parties as drawer, drawee, and payee. A bill of exchange can be kept by the drawer himself up till the specific period of that bill. We call that as the bill retained. However, if the drawer has some of his creditor, he can transfer that bill to his creditor. That process of transferring the bill from the drawer to the creditor is called as endorsement. In the case of endorsement, the person who is endorsing the bill is called as endorser, and the person to whom the bill is transferred is called as endorsee. A further point, suppose the drawer is in the need of funds. The drawer can get the bill discounted with the bank. The bill discounting involves certain charges from the bank. These discounting charges are normally calculated with reference to the interest rates applicable in the bank. These discounting charges are calculated for the period for which the bill is discounted. अगर आपने 4 महीने का बिल 1 महीने बाद मतलब 3 महीने के लिए डिस्काउंट किया तो डिस्काउंट के चार्जेस भी 3 ही महीने के देने पड़ेंगे, पूरे 4 महीने के नहीं. So whenever there is a question related to discounting of bill, you need to focus on the date on which the bill is discounted. And the bill can also be sent for collection on the due date. In case of bill of exchange, the consideration is must. The person who has supplied the goods draws the bill. So there has to be a consideration in case of bill. The bill can be made payable to the person in whose name it is drawn, that is to the payee or his order or bearer. This is why we call this as the trade bill. However, as far as the accommodation bill is concerned, the concept related to that is a bit different. We'll talk about that separately. There is another negotiable instrument called as promissory note. A promissory note is also a legal document which is drawn by the debtor in favor of creditor against the liability payable. In case of promissory note, there are only two parties. The person who is making that promissory note, promissor, technically called as maker, And the person to whom that promise is given, that is promisee, technically called as payee. So in case of promissory note, you'll be having two parties, that is maker and payee. Whereas in case of bill of exchange, I said there are three parties, that is drawer, drawee, and payee. The bill of exchange is normally drawn for the consideration supplied, but in case of promissory note, it is drawn for the liability, the acceptance promise given for the liability payable. In case of bill of exchange, it can be made payable to order or bearer, but a promissory note can never be made payable to a bearer. Why it cannot be made payable to bearer? Because as per the RBI Act, the promissory note can be issued as bearer promissory note only by the RBI, that is the currency note. A further point, that is in case of a bill of exchange, the acceptance of bill of exchange is must. Technically speaking, a bill of exchange must be accepted within a period of 48 hours, that is 2 days from the point of drawing the bill. हालांकि एग्जाम में आपको जिस तरह से दिया जाए उस तरह से आपको फॉलो करना है, बट टेक्निकली स्पीकिंग इट इज 48 आवर्स का टाइम लिमिट. Whereas in case of promissory note, acceptance is not required. Why? Because if the promisor himself is making that promissory note, why he will accept that again? And therefore there is no need of making the acceptance. What is the difference between payee and drawee is the question by Shreya. Shreya, payee is the person to whom the amount is payable. Drawee is the person who is going to pay the money. That's the basic difference between the drawee and payee. Right? Then a further part, bearer means what? Any person who is holding that particular document on the due date will be able to collect the money. That is called as bearer. But in case of promissory note, it cannot be made payable to bearer. It has to be made payable either to a person or order only. Are the bill of exchange still used? Practically speaking, at the lower level, it is not used, but at the larger level, at the company level, corporate level, they have a different concept similar to bill of exchange. It is still invoked, it is still in use, but with the different terminologies. Can the payee and drawee be the same person? I said the bill of exchange can be endorsed, and it can be endorsed for n number of times till the due date comes. So ultimately, if the drawee receives his own accepted bill, in that case, the drawee and payee will be the same person. Right? Now a further point, that is, sir, creditor is the drawer of the bill. No. Creditor is the drawer of the bill. Barabar. This is what I started with, if you must have heard it properly. Well, so a further point, as far as the accounting entries are concerned, whether it is a bill of exchange or a promissory note, both have the same accounting entries. In case of bill of exchange, the person who is drawing the bill, if he holds the bill till its due date, then the drawer himself will be called as holder in due course. Any person who holds the bill till the due date of the bill is called as the holder in due course. Now, further point, a bill of exchange or a promissory note is made payable after a particular period. If the bill of exchange is made payable after the given days, and after that particular number of days, the holder in due course goes to the drawee or to the maker of promissory note for asking the money, and if that maker or the drawee makes the payment against the bill, in that case it is called as what? Honor of bill. But if on the due date the drawee does not make the payment against that bill, it is called as dishonor of bill. Now, whenever there is an honor of bill, the transaction gets completed. There is no problem at all. But if the bill is dishonored, in that case, the holder in due course registers that with an authority called as notary public for legal course of action. And that notary public charges certain amount called as noting charges. Please understand and remember this forever once again. Noting charges are paid by the holder in due course, but is the expense of drawee or maker. It is not the expense of drawer. It is not the expense of endorsee. It is not the expense of the bank. It is the expense of the drawee. It is the expense of the maker. And therefore, these noting charges are ultimately recovered from that drawee only. The drawer, endorsee, bank do not debit the noting charges. That amount is paid on behalf of drawee, so they debit the drawee's account ultimately. All right. The bill of exchange or promissory note, if paid prior to the given due date, prior to the given period, in that case, it is called as retirement of bill. Now, whenever there is a retirement of bill, in that case, the drawer may allow certain discount. We call technically as rebate on the honor of that bill. This rebate is generally calculated with reference to the interest rate and is allowed only for the period for which the amount is paid in advance. तो अगर 4 महीने का बिल है, 3 महीने हो चुके हैं और आज वो अगर ऑनर हो रहा है, मतलब रिटायर हो रहा है, तो रिबेट ये एक ही महीने के लिए दिया जाएगा, 4 महीने या 3 महीने के लिए नहीं. And many a times the students make the mistake in calculation of discount or rebate. They calculate it with reference to the whole year. The rebate or discount is calculated proportionately for the period for which that discount is allowed, proportionately for the period for which that rebate is allowed. तो जब रिटायर किया जाएगा बिल या जब डिस्काउंट कराया जाता है बिल, तो कितने पीरियड के लिए डिस्काउंटिंग चार्जेस है, कितने पीरियड के लिए रिबेट है, इस पे ध्यान देना बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है. Whereas in some cases it may so happen that the drawee does not have the money on the due date, but he wants to honor the bill. नियत साफ है, but जेब भी साफ है. पर ड्रॉवर ये नहीं कह सकता है कि सब कुछ माफ है. So drawer wants the money, drawee does not have the money, drawee want to honor the bill. In that case, the drawee requests the drawer to renew the bill. Whenever there is a cancellation of an existing bill, and instead of that, if the new bill is drawn, it is called as renewal of bill. Now, whenever a bill of exchange is renewed, in that case, generally the drawer will be charging certain interest, and at the same time the drawer will generally be asking for certain part payment also. So the bill of exchange can be renewed as well. When the old bill is cancelled and the new bill is drawn instead of that, it is called as the renewal of bill. Now, whenever there is a renewal of bill, in that case, in that situation, the drawer may ask for certain private amount. The drawer may ask for certain part payment and will be charging the interest. Now, in this case, interest will be charged only for the balance outstanding amount, and on top of that the interest will be charged only for the period of new bill. So how will I calculate the interest amount in the case of renewal? Interest will be balance outstanding into rate of interest into new bill period divided by 12 months or 365 days. So that's how you calculate the interest at the time of renewal of bill. Am I clear for all? Now a further point, whenever there is a renewal of bill, you can pass the separate entries, you can pass the combined entries. I have not yet started talking about the entries. We'll discuss all the entries together, right? One more concept that you must have remembered is the accommodation bill. What is this accommodation bill? Whenever, okay, the new bill, if the new bill amount includes the noting charges, so should we include those for interest calculation? Answer is an absolute yes. Whenever there is a new bill drawn and if there is a noting charge, the interest will be calculated on that noting charges as well. Who bears the bank charges? If the bank charges are paid for collection of the bill, then it will be borne by the drawer. If the bank charges are recovered for the dishonor of bill, then bank charges will also be recovered from the drawee. Am I right? Okay. Now let's talk about the accommodation bill as a concept first. उसको deal कैसे करना है, उसमें कैसे दिक्कतें आती हैं, ये सारी चीजें हम लोग डिस्कस करेंगे. All right. The very first in that is the accommodation bills. When you are talking about the accommodation bill, these are drawn basically for not for the consideration supplied, but these are drawn for the mutual financial accommodation of the drawer and drawee. When the drawer as well as drawee are in need of funds, they may draw the bill on one another, and such bill can be discounted with the bank and collect the money against that. And with the help of that money, they can fulfill their financial requirement. Is there any standard rate of interest on renewal like interest on capital? No, not at all. That will be as per the question. Yes, accommodation bill has no application in the real life in the current scenario. We are discussing it only for the sake of syllabus. Why? Because it's there in your syllabus. You have no option on that. Can the accommodation bill be endorsed? Answer is yes. Generally, मैंने पूरा discussion कर लेने दो मुझे, फिर सवाल पूछो ना accommodation bill पे. Yes. Let me complete what I am talking about and then you talk about your questions. अरे संजना बेटा सब कुछ सिखाऊंगा मैंने अब तक के एंट्रीज चालू ही नहीं की. Let me complete the discussion on the concepts, then you people please ask the questions. It's a sincere request to all of you. Yes. Now when I'm talking about the concept of the accommodation bill and the trade bill are generally from the accounting point of view the same, but technicalities are different, practicalities are different between the trade bill and the accommodation bill. Trade bill, the normal bill which I earlier talked about, is drawn payable for certain consideration supplied. But accommodation bill is drawn payable for certain mutual financial requirements. In case of trade bill, the drawer can retain the bill, endorse the bill, discount the bill, send it for collection. In case of accommodation bill, it is generally discounted with the bank only. However, it can also be endorsed. But an accommodation bill will never be retained or sent for collection. Why? अकोमोडेशन बिल भी अगर रिटेन किया गया तो ड्रॉवर ड्रॉई बिल तो नहीं खेलना चाहते हैं. That's why the accommodation bill can generally be discounted. However, it can be endorsed as well. In case of trade bill, the bill, if discounted, the total discount amount is borne by the drawer himself. Whereas, in case of accommodation bill, if the accommodation bill gets discounted, the discounting amount will be borne by the drawer as well as drawee in the agreed proportion. जिस proportion में वो पैसे बांटेंगे उसी proportion में discount भी बांटा जाएगा दोनों के द्वारा. In case of trade bill, if the drawer is discounting that bill, he doesn't send any money to the drawee, either on the discounting of bill or on the due date of the bill. But in case of accommodation bill, the drawer sends his share, drawee's share to the drawee on the bill discounting and his own share at the time of due date of the bill. So these are the major points of difference between the trade bill and the accommodation bill. Further point, as I said earlier, as far as the accounting entries are concerned, accommodation ho ya trade bill ho, accounting entries are going to remain same. हाँ, उससे जब accommodation bill आएगा तो उसको हमने कैसे डील करना है ये सीखना बहुत ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है. क्यों? In case of accommodation bill, we know that the drawer is supposed to remit his own share to drawee on the due date. अब मान लो ड्रॉवर ने अपना शेयर भेज दिया और ड्रॉई ने बिल ऑनर कर दिया तो फिर कोई कहानी नहीं है, फिर तो कोई दिक्कत ही नहीं है, द थिंग्स बिकम नॉर्मल. बट अगर ड्रॉवर ने शेयर भेजा और ड्रॉई ने बिल डिसऑनर कर दिया, वो ड्रॉई ने पहले खुद के पैसे रख लिए, फिर ड्रॉवर का भी शेयर रख लिया और खुद के पूरे पैसे उड़ा दिए. इन दैट केस द बैंक, अगर बिल डिस्काउंट हुआ है, द बैंक और एंडोर्सी विल रिकवर द मनी फ्रॉम ड्रॉवर and drawer ultimately will recover the money from drawee, the full bill amount. पर मान लो कि ड्रॉवर ने पैसे नहीं भेजे और ड्रॉई ने फिर भी बिल ऑनर कर दिया, in that case drawee will recover the money from the drawer only to the extent of drawer's share. You have to remember this, you have to understand this कि क्या सिचुएशन चल रही है, कौन किससे कितने पैसे रिकवर करेगा. And then अगर अरे सुघोष, why accommodation bill is usually not drawn in the practical life? अगर ये accommodation bill वाली कंसेप्ट अलाउ हो गई ना, कल को तुम लोग चालू हो जाओगे, 18 साल के हो गए हो, एक दूसरे के ऊपर बिल ड्रॉ करोगे, जाओगे बैंक में बिल डिस्काउंट करवाओगे, पैसे उड़ाओगे, खत्म. और बैंक जब पैसे मांगने आएगी, पैसा नहीं है, मनी हिल है. That cannot be permitted. And it's on top of that, the bank when discounts the bill sees the credit worthiness. उसके बगैर उसकी कोई वैलिडिटी नहीं है. किस पे आप बिल ड्रॉ कर रहे हो, उसका क्रेडिट वर्दीनेस क्या है, उसके हिसाब से वो डिसाइड होता है. वेल, a further point that is when the accommodation bill is drawn, suppose drawer ने ड्रॉई को शेयर भेज दिया, ड्रॉई ने बिल ऑनर कर दिया, ड्रॉवर से अब वो पैसा रिकवर करेगा टू द एक्सटेंट ऑफ ड्रॉवर शेयर. और अगर ड्रॉवर ने पैसा नहीं भेजा और ड्रॉई ने फिर भी बिल डिसऑनर कर दिया, in that case the bank will again recover the money from the drawer. और क्योंकि बैंक ड्रॉवर से पैसा रिकवर करेगी तो ड्रॉवर का अब रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी बन गया, ड्रॉवर का अभी राइट बन गया टू रिकवर द मनी फ्रॉम द ड्रॉई, बट ओनली टू द एक्सटेंट ऑफ ड्रॉई शेयर. So when it comes to the question related to bad debts, when it comes to the question related to insolvency, you have to check who is becoming insolvent, how much was the amount recoverable, and based on that you do the calculation of the bad debts or deficiency whatsoever is applicable. Am I right? Now, before I go into the accounting entries, you can ask me the questions. I give you 5 minutes for asking the questions. कैसे पता चलता है कि वो अकोमोडेशन बिल है या ट्रेड बिल है? वहां पे वो इनवॉइस की कॉपी जोड़नी पड़ती है उसको, क्या गुड सप्लाई किए या क्या नहीं सप्लाई किया, एंड ऑल दैट। Retirement of bill. Yadnesh, I said retirement of bill means when you are honoring the bill before the due date, it is called as retirement of bill. And if it is retirement of bill, in that case, you give the discount. That is called as rebate for the period by which the amount is paid earlier. Bill after date, after sight, समझाता हूँ, मोहित रुक जा. If the drawer remits his share to the drawee for payment, फिर drawer के पास क्या रहेगा? कुछ भी नहीं, क्योंकि drawer को तो वो उतने ही पीरियड के लिए सिर्फ उसको पैसा चाहिए था ना. बैंक चार्जेस कौन बेयर करता है? In case of bill sent for collection, those are borne by the drawer, and in case the bill is sent, bill is dishonored, in that case, अगर बैंक ने चार्जेस लगाए तो बैंक चार्जेस will be recovered from the drawee. अरे भाई साहब, सारे के सारे एंट्रीज डिस्कस करने वाला हूं मैं. संजना रुक जा बेटा. Why do we transfer bad debts to deficiency account? We don't transfer bad debts to deficiency account, Aditya. In case of drawer, those are bad debts. In case of drawee, that is in the case of creditor, those are bad debt. In the case of debtor, those are deficiency, because the debtor has insufficient assets to pay off the liabilities. Of course, I'm going to talk about all the accounting entries. Renewal with the entries, it will be more clear, Darshana. Wait for it. एक साथ दो बिल को डिस्काउंट करा सकते हैं क्या? Yes. Can the rebate return as discount? Yes. अरे शुभम, let the practical thing be aside now. You for the time being focus on the exam, I think. Which type of bill is more likely to be asked in the examination? Accommodation. After sight, after date, clear करो ना सर. बिल्कुल clear करूंगा बेटा. What is accommodation of bill? Any of the party gets insolvent. वो हम लोग डिस्कस करने वाले हैं accounting entries. New bill is drawn and said 60% is honor and nothing was said about 40%. अरे ये तुम्हारा क्लास का क्वेश्चन है. If nothing has been mentioned about that 40%, you have to already assume that that has been recovered. अकोमोडेशन बिल पे भी स्टैंप ड्यूटी भरते हैं? हाँ भाई भरते हैं. तुमको बोल रहा हूँ वो प्रैक्टिकली है ही नहीं कोई कंसेप्ट, सिर्फ तुम्हारे सिलेबस में तुम उस पर सवाल कैसे पूछ रहे हो, मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा है. In accommodation, if the drawee does not make payment, then what should we do? वो उसका प्लेन बना के उसको उड़ाओ अकोमोडेशन बिल को. उसके अकाउंटिंग एंट्रीज डिस्कस करने वाले ना हम लोग. मैंने कहा ना अकाउंटिंग एंट्रीज आर स्टिल पेंडिंग. बिल तो डिस्काउंट क्यों कर रहे हो? क्योंकि दोनों को पैसे चाहिए ना. फिर अगर ड्रॉवर ने उसका शेयर रेमिट किया तो उसके पास क्या रहेगा? अरे सम्यक, आज मेरे पास 10,000 की रिक्वायरमेंट है और मेरे ड्रॉवर के पास 15,000 की रिक्वायरमेंट है. हमने 25 का बिल ड्रॉ किया, 15 ड्रॉवर ने रखे, 10 ड्रॉई ने रखे. फिर जब भी वो 3 महीने 4 महीने 6 महीने कंप्लीट होंगे, उसके बाद तो 25,000 रुपए बैंक को वापस करने पड़ेंगे. नहीं कि बैंक से लेके आओ, सीतारमन मैडम को बोला मैडम वो इसमें कौन सा वो क्या स्कीम था उसमें लिख दो आप, एमएसएमई वाले स्कीम में. क्या बातें करते हो यार तुम लोग. थोड़ा सा लॉजिकल प्रैक्टिकल तो सोचो ना. क्या पैसा फुकट में मिल रहा है तुमको पैसा? If a person owe money and for that bill is drawn, is it allowed? Yes, money which is owed is not due to sale but due to loan. No, in that case promissory note is drawn. डेज में इंटरेस्ट कैसे कैलकुलेट करते हैं? इनटू नंबर ऑफ डेज डिवाइड बाय 365. इज रिबेट रिटर्न एज डिस्काउंट? यस, मैंने ऑलरेडी रिप्लाई कर दिया है. हाउ मच मार्क्स अकोमोडेशन बिल क्वेश्चन कम्स इन जनरल? अराउंड 10 मार्क्स. रिन्यूअल का कंबाइन एंट्री करें या फिर सेपरेट? अरे मैंने अब तक के एंट्रीज डिस्कस ही नहीं किए भाई, रुको ना जरा. Accommodation, please explain in short. अरे इतना डिटेल में एक्सप्लेन कर दिया और वापस से शॉर्ट आजकल सिर्फ घर में पहन के बैठे हैं लोग लॉकडाउन में. When we send to bank for collection, then can we directly discounting bill to bank if required money? No. Due date and maturity date are same. एग्जाम पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, जब भी ड्यू डेट पूछेंगे तो मैच्योरिटी डेट ही कैलकुलेट करना, मतलब लीगल ड्यू डेट. अकोमोडेशन कितने मार्क्स को आता है यार? तुम लोग क्या सवाल पूछ रहे हो ना. ए बाबा बस करो, तुम लोग फालतू सवालों पे आ गए हो. यस, in insolvency of drawee doesn't make payment, then will whom he can recover? Of course, bank will recover the money from the drawer and drawer will recover the money from the insolvent person. जितना भी स्टेट में से रिकवर हुआ नुकसान drawer का. Okay, fine. Let's talk about the accounting entries now. First, we'll discuss the accounting entries in the books of drawer. Then we'll go in the books of drawee, and then we'll talk about the accommodation with the help of example directly. As far as the entries in the books of drawer are concerned, it depends on what kind of transaction that he is doing. Whether he is retaining the bill, he is sending it for collection, he is discounting it, or he is endorsing it. The very first, when he draws the bill, at that time the entry will be bills receivable account debit to drawee account, because against the bills receivable money is receivable and drawee is the giver of benefit. So entry will be bills receivable account debit to drawee account. If the bill is discounted, entry will be bank account debit, discount account debit to bills receivable account. If the bill is endorsed, entry will be endorsee account debit to bills receivable account. If the bill is sent for collection, entry will be bills for collection account debit to bills receivable account, or bank for collection account debit to bills receivable account. Either which way it is correct. At a later date, if the bill is honored, if the bill was retained by the drawer, or if the bill was sent for collection, only in that case the drawer will be recording the entry for that. Whether the bill is endorsed or bill is discounted, and if such bill is honored by the drawee, in that case no entry will come in the books of drawer. Entry for honor in case of bill retained or sent for collection will be bank account debit for the amount received, to bills receivable account if it was retained, to bills for collection account if it was sent for collection. I said whenever the bill is sent to the bank as discounted or the bill is endorsed, there will be no entry in the books of drawer for honoring that particular bill. क्योंकि drawer के लिए तो वो ड्रॉअर के लिए वो सिचुएशन जो है वो इवेंट वाली सिचुएशन हो जाएगी, and we do not record the events in our books of accounts. Further point, if the drawee dishonors the bill, then in that case the money is recoverable from the drawee. Entry will be drawee account debit because the amount is receivable, to bills receivable account if it was retained, to bank account if it was discounted, to endorsee account if it was endorsed, to bills for collection account if it was sent for collection. Now here, if there are the noting charges, the noting charges are also recoverable from the drawee only. So entry will remain same as above, that is dishonored. You can combine the entry for dishonor and noting charges. Noting charges will not be debited in the books of drawer because noting charges is the expense of drawee. At a later date, if the drawee is declared insolvent, in that case the whole amount will not be recovered. Only the part of the proceeds will be recovered from the drawee, and therefore for those part of the proceeds which are recoverable from the drawee, the differential amount will be put into the bad dates. Noting charges are charged from the drawer but recoverable from the drawee. It is the expense of drawee only and not that of the drawer. Whenever there are the noting charges payable, noting charges is the expense of drawee. अब सपोज ड्रॉवर ने वो नोटिंग चार्जेस पे किए, कब नोटिंग चार्जेस पे करेगा ड्रॉवर? जब वो बिल रिटेन होगा या जब वो बिल सेंड फॉर कलेक्शन होगा. In that case, drawer himself will be paying the noting charges, but he's not going to debit the noting charges account. He's going to recover it from the drawee, and therefore he'll pass the entries what drawee account debit to cash account. But if the bill was endorsed or discounted, he will pass the entry as drawee account debit to bank account or to the endorsee account, because amount is recoverable from drawee and payable to the bank or to the endorsee. At a later date, if the drawee is becoming insolvent, then the part which is unrecoverable from the drawee, that will be transferred to the bad dates account. Why to the bad dates account? Is because you will pass the entry as वो amount recoverable receivable था, but it is becoming irrecoverable, and therefore will pass the entry as bank account debit for the amount received, bad dates account debit for the amount irrecoverable to the drawee account. Am I right? Write down certain important points to remember, a highlight of all the aspects. Write down. Number one, when the bill is sent for collection, when the bill is sent for collection, the bank charges, if any, the bank charges, if any, is the expense of drawer Next point. If the bill gets dishonored, if the bill gets dishonored, and bank levies certain charges for that dishonor, and bank levies certain charges for that dishonor, such bank charges are recoverable from the drawee. Such bank charges are recoverable from the drawee. Next point. Noting charges are paid by the holder in due course, but it is the expense of drawee. But it is the expense of drawee. It is the expense of drawee. Next point. In case the bill is dishonored, the amount irrecoverable the amount irrecoverable is debited by drawer to bad debts account and credited by drawee to deficiency account. And credited by drawee to deficiency account. Next point. In case the drawee becomes insolvent, the amount irrecoverable is debited by drawer to bad debts account and credited by drawee to deficiency account. Next point. In case, यार तुम ये कैन यू रिपीट करके ना मैं जो अगला पॉइंट होने वाला होता हूँ बोलने वाला होता हूँ वो भूल जाता हूँ. I am not remembering this. These are not written anywhere with me. I'm just telling you, you need to be focused. Next point. In case of accommodation bill, one need to take care of the amount receivable. That depends upon whether the drawer has remitted his share or not. Whether the drawer has remitted his share or not. Next point. When the bill is discounted, take care of the period for which it is discounted. Next point. If the bill is retired, the rebate or discount is calculated only for the period by which amount is paid early amount is paid early by the drawee. Next point. When the bill is renewed, the interest is charged. The interest is charged only for the period by which for which the new bill is drawn. Can the accommodation bill be retired? No. For which the new bill is drawn. And it will be charged only on the balance outstanding amount. Only on the balance outstanding amount, whether with or without noting charges. Next point, write down. In bill of exchange concept, the interest amount wherever applicable is calculated on per annum basis only. चाहे वो per annum word use किया हो या नहीं किया हो, it will be calculated on per annum basis only. Yes, Drushti, absolutely correct. Are these concepts right for everyone? Points with reference to due date, write down. Points with reference to due date. देखो. When the bill is drawn payable, after certain number of months. अरे भाई मैंने एक भी प्रॉब्लम अब तक के सॉल्व नहीं किया हुआ था, तो why you are asking me suddenly something in between? अभी मैं कोई एक पर्टिकुलर सीक्वेंस में हूं या नहीं? तुम लोग को ऐसे सामने ऐसे प्लेटर वो बफे लगा हुआ है, सारा का सारा खाना एक साथ क्यों खाना होता है भाई? थोड़ा थोड़ा करके खाओ ना, बर्दाश्त भी होगी ना, नहीं तो इधर जो पहले बोल रहा हूं वो कुछ समझ नहीं रहा है तुमको, आगे का सवाल पहला पूछते हो तुम। देखो, when the bill is drawn payable after certain number of months, after certain number of months, Consider the corresponding date of subsequent month. Consider the corresponding date of subsequent month and if the corresponding date in subsequent month is not available, and if the corresponding date in subsequent month is not available, consider the last date of that month. Before adding 3 grace days. Next point. For the bills made payable after certain number of days. For the bills made payable after certain number of days. Consider actual days of each month. Consider actual days of each month because each month does not have 30 days. Because each month does not have 30 days. Next point. No due date calculation or grace days are available for the bill at site. For the bill at site. Example check. Example check. Next point. If the bill is drawn after site, if the bill is drawn payable after site, due date calculation from the date of acceptance. Next point. If the bill is drawn payable after date, if the bill is drawn payable after date, due date calculation from the date of bill, date of drawing the bill, due date calculation from the date of drawing the bill, even though the date of acceptance is given. Even though the date of acceptance is given. Last point. Do not forget. Do not forget to consider the public holidays and the emergency holidays. the public holidays and the emergency holidays. I need not tell you that what to do with that public holiday or emergency holiday. You are already aware about that. But still, you are not supposed to forget that. So these are very much important points that I have summarized for the whole topic. जब आप एग्जाम में जाओगे ना तो ये पढ़ के जाना जरूरी है. All right. Now what I'll be doing is for the problems, how can we know in the question whether it is bill after date or after sight? It will be provided to you, beta. In the question, if it is given, bill is drawn payable after sight, then it is after sight bill. If nothing has been provided, it is after date bill. Isn't it? What I'm going to do now is, for each question, I am only going to talk about the answers. We are going to discuss the answers. I'm not going to write anything. अरे दृष्टि में क्या तुम लोग क्यों ऐसे सवाल पूछ रहे हो बेटा? मेरे को पता नहीं है. मैंने अगर कंसेप्ट सिखाई है वो पूछेंगे या नहीं, मुझे क्या पता. The concept is there in the module. They generally ask it. How will you do that then? तुमको कंसेप्ट तो रिवाइज करना पड़ेगा बेटा. मैंने 4 प्रॉब्लम्स करवाए, वो चारों प्रॉब्लम्स रिवाइज करो, अपने आप सारी चीजें ठीक हो जाती हैं. Is after date and on site are same? कैसा हो सकता है रे पटनी? मैंने कहा बिल ऑन साइट, बिल एट साइट मींस नो ड्यू डेट कैलकुलेशन, नो ग्रेस डेज अवेलेबल. एग्जांपल बताया चेक. उसके बाद तू ये माती क्यों खा रहा है? कितना ही लिटरेसी दिखाने का अपन ने. अभी बोली हुई चीज, अभी लिखी हुई चीज, I'll just tell you the timetable for tomorrow. Tomorrow, the whole day you have got maths. It is already been provided to you. Link will remain same for tomorrow as well. The link is not going to change. Timing will be 8 to 12 first session, 1 to 5 the next session, and 6 to 10 will be the third session. That's how the 3 sessions will be there for tomorrow for the subject of maths. There will be no account session tomorrow. The further, अरे यार मैं रोशन मैं यहां क्या बात किया अभी? मैं इतना क्लियर अगर बोला कि कल मैथ्स रहेगा, का मतलब क्या रहता है रे? Three sessions will be there, 8 to 12, 1 to 5 and 6 to 10. 4-4 घंटे के 3 सेशंस रहने वाले हैं कल. Is it fine? And login will remain same. The login ID will remain same. What was there for today, the same login ID will be there. मैं जाऊंगा. तुम लोगों ने सुनाई नहीं देता है। अभी 3 बार टाइमिंग बताया और उसके बाद वापस से बंदा टाइप करता है सर टाइम प्लीज फिर से बताइएगा। कौन सा मैसेज इग्नोर करने का और कौन सा कंसीडर करने का पता नहीं। लेट इट बी। लेट्स कंसीडर द ड्यू डेट्स फर्स्ट। In all the cases, we have to add 3 grace days. Do not forget that. The first one is bill after date. And because the bill is after date, so 5th Jan plus 3 months. That means February, March, April. मीनाक्षी 8 जनवरी कहां से आई बेटा? You'll be calculating the date from, due date from the date of bill and not from the date of acceptance because this is bill after date. So, February, March, April, 3 months plus 3 grace days. So, the due date will be 8 April 2010. Correct? It's not 8 January, beta. 8 April it was, Meenakshi. 12th March wala jo bill hai, again it is after date bill. You have to consider the exact days, I said. So 12th March plus March के 19 दिन plus April के 26 दिन because 45 दिन का बिल है. 26 plus 19 45 plus 3 grace days. That comes to 29 April 2010. Correct? The third case, 15th May. In this case, it is after sight. So the due date will be calculated from 15th May and not from the 15th May of the date of drawing the bill. Plus 3 months, so 15th June, 15th July, 15th August. Do not say 15th August is a public holiday, so 14th August plus 3 grace days. No. After adding 3 grace days, if it is a public holiday or emergency holiday, that's what you have to consider. So that comes to 18th August 2009. 27 अगस्त का बिल आफ्टर साइट है तो 30 अगस्त से कैलकुलेशन होगा ना कि 27 अगस्त से. 2 months. So 30 of September, 30 of October. 2 महीने है ना. 30 सितंबर, 30 अक्टूबर प्लस 3 ग्रेस डेज. अक्टूबर का 1 दिन, नवंबर के 2, सो टोटल 2 नवंबर 2011. जनवरी कहां से आया बेटा? अनुज 2 जनवरी 2012 कहां से लेके आया? पहले सॉल्व करके रखा था क्या? So 2 November 2011. These are the kind of silly mistakes that you do when it comes to the examination. I have to give the answer fast. That should not be the case. थोड़ा सा काम रह के आप सॉल्व करो आंसर. खुद का भी बीपी बढ़ाते हो, मास्टर का भी बीपी बढ़ाते हो, बेवकूफ लोग. On 10th April 2008, Mukesh bought goods for rupees 20,000 from Suresh and agreed to pay the amount due in installments, 60% and 40% falling due for payment after 3 and 4 months respectively. Accordingly, on the same day, Suresh drew 2 bills of 60% and 40% for 3 months and 2 अक्टूबर कहां से आया? सिद्धार्थ 2 नवंबर कौन सा नेशनल हॉलिडे रहता है रे? तो 2 अक्टूबर कहां से आ गया इधर? सोनाली, ये तुम लोग क्या सूखा नशा करके बैठे हो क्या बे? I can understand you have been doing the studies throughout the day. अचानक पहली बार तुमको ऐसा फील आने लगा है कि हम लोग पढ़ाई भी कर सकते हैं, पर ऐसा On 10th April 2008, Mukesh bought goods for rupees 20,000 from Suresh and agreed to pay the amount due in installments of 60% and 40%, falling due for payment after 3 months and 4 months respectively. Accordingly, on the same day, Suresh drew two bills of 60% and 40% for 3 and 4 months. Mukesh accepted and returned immediately. On 21st May 2008, Suresh sent 4 months acceptance to his bank for collection. Observe it. Bills are drawn on which date? 10th April. But the bills are discounted with the bank on which date? On 21st of May. Isn't it? Bill is drawn on 10th of April, but discounted on 21st of May. Oh, sorry, sent for collection on 21st of May. Not discounted, but sent for collection on 21st of May. On the due date of the respective bill, Mukesh honored 3 months acceptance and dishonored the second, for which Suresh paid the noting charges of 80. His bank debited 50 for bank charges. Now, these 50 for bank charges here are for the collection. So, these bank charges are drawer's expense and not the amount recoverable from the drawee. All right. However, on 21st of September, Mukesh issued a check in full settlement of his account. Passed the necessary journal entries. It's a very plain, vanilla, simple, straight question. The first entry will be Mukesh account debit to sales account 20,000. Second, bills receivable account debit to Mukesh account 20,000. You can pass the entry separately. Bills receivable 1 account, bills receivable 2 account, 2 Mukesh account 20,000. On 21st May, you will pass the entry as bills for collection account debit to bills receivable account rupees 8,000, क्योंकि 8,000 वाला बिल जो है वो 4 महीने वाला था. I had said I will only discuss these accounting entries. I have to do one question on accommodation. And that's why I am discussing these accounting entries in speed. All right. Anyways, as per your wish, ग्राहकाचे समाधान हेच आमचं संतोष. The very first will be Mukesh account debit to sales account rupees 20,000. Second entry will be what? For the bill drawn. Entry will be bills receivable account debit to Mukesh account rupees 20,000. Then the next entry for the bill of rupees 8,000 sent for collection, entry will be bills for collection account debit to bills receivable account 8,000. First bill of 12,000 is honored by the drawee. Therefore, the entry for that will be bank account debit to bills receivable account 12,000. Yes or no? However, the second bill of 8,000 is dishonored and there are the noting charges of 80 paid by the bank, paid by the drawer. Entry will be Mukesh account debit 8080 to bills bills for collection account 8,000 to cash account 80. I'll repeat the entry. Mukesh account debit 8,080, that is 8080, to bills for collection account 8,000, to noting charges 80. I'm sorry, to cash 80. Then the bank had levied the charges. For that, the entry will be bank charges account debit to cash account 50. Bank charges account debit to cash account 50. And finally, he paid it by check. Entry bank account debit to Mukesh account 8,080. Bank account debit to Mukesh account 8,080 for the settlement. बराबर है? Am I right for everyone? Next, for the next, I think I should go directly to the accommodation bill concept. You write down a problem of accommodation bill. We'll solve that. That's more important for us. Will that be fine? Yes, write down. A and B. Write down the question. A and B are friends and in requirement of the funds. Next point. Sorry, full stop. For their mutual financial accommodation, A drew a bill on B for rupees 60,000 which he got discounted with bank for 58,800 and immediately remitted to B an amount of 19,600. An amount of 19,600. On due date, yes, Ayush. On due date, A could not remit his share still B honored the bill. Still B honored the bill. Full stop. For recovery of the dues, B drew a bill on A B drew the bill on A for rupees 75,000 and got it discounted for rupees 1,500. And got it discounted for rupees 1,500. B remitted 9,000 to A. B remitted 9,000 to A. Full stop. Before the due date of this bill, before the due date of this bill, A became insolvent A became insolvent and only half of the dues could be recovered and only half of the dues could be recovered from his estate. From his estate. Pass the necessary entries in the books of A. Pass the necessary entries in the books of A to record the above transactions. To record the above transactions. Now understand very much carefully what I'm doing. First of all, what happened? A drew a bill on B for an amount of 60,000. Correct? There's no need. I remember this question. This bill, साहिल मैंने कहा कि आज एडिसेट सर का लेक्चर नहीं है, मैं छोड़ दूं लेक्चर, तेरे को उनका लेक्चर अटेंड करना है. I'll immediately leave off. I'd mentioned this when I had started the lecture. This bill was discounted for 58,800, means the discount amount was 1,200. Correct. Now, out of this 58,800, A has remitted to B an amount of 19,600. Am I right? Yes or no? And if 19,600 is remitted out of 58,800, which means A kept it himself. How much? 39,200. Am I going right? Yes. Now, if you would observe, if they have shared the money in the proportion of 39,200 and 19,600, that is 2:1, that is 2:1, so even the discount will be borne by them in the ratio of 2:1 or not. That is 800 and 400 respectively. And the discount is borne in the ratio of 800 and 400, which means A's share in the bill is 40,000 and B's share in the bill is 20,000. Did you people understand this? Because here the proportion was not given. Yes or no? Even if the proportion of share is not given, we can calculate it based on the amount shared amongst themselves. Correct? Now, logically, what should have happened? A should have remitted 40,000 to B and B would have paid 60,000 to bank. पर हुआ यूं कि A ने B को 40,000 रुपए नहीं दिए, बट स्टिल B ने बैंक को 60,000 रुपए दे दिए. अब क्योंकि बैंक को तो ऑलरेडी 60,000 मिल चुके, अब B के पास तो सिर्फ 20,000 रुपए आए थे, तो अब 40,000 रुपए रिकवर करना बाकी है नहीं. ये 40,000 रिकवर करने के लिए यस बी को जितना पैसा मिला उसके हिसाब से हमने रेशियो कैलकुलेट किया. ये 40,000 रुपए रिकवर करने के लिए बी ने ए के ऊपर नया बिल ड्रॉ किया. पर जब बी ए के ऊपर बिल ड्रॉ कर रहा था तो ए ने कहा यार मुझे थोड़े और पैसे की जरूरत है, थोड़ा ज्यादा अमाउंट का बिल ड्रॉ कर. तो बी ने इस वजह से कितने का बिल ड्रॉ किया? 75,000 का. This bill he got discounted for 1,500. Correct? So he got 73,500. अब थोड़ा सा लॉजिक लगाओ. अब बी जब ए को इस सेकंड बिल में से शेयर देगा तो उससे जो ऑलरेडी 40,000 रुपए रिकवरेबल है वो रिकवर करने के बाद ही देगा या नहीं? तो इसका मतलब बी ने ए को जो 9,000 रुपए भेजे हैं, दैट इज ऑब्वियसली आफ्टर रिकवरी ऑफ द 40,000 रुपीज फ्रॉम द बिल 1 और नॉट? यस और नो? सो बी remitted to A an amount of 9,000. This must be after the recovery of 40,000 from the bill 1. ये पैसा रिकवर कर लिया, तो इसका मतलब इफेक्टिवली ए को बिल 2 में से कितना पैसा मिला? 49,000 रुपीज. और अगर ए को 49,000 मिला तो बी के पास खुद के कितने बचे? 24,500. यस और नो? वापस हमारे पास अब कितना कितना अमाउंट दोनों ने शेयर किया ये मिल गया. अगर अमाउंट मिल गया तो इन दैट प्रपोर्शन वी विल बी डिस्ट्रीब्यूटिंग द डिस्काउंट अमाउंट आल्सो और नॉट? And that comes to 1,000 for A and 500 for B. Proportionate calculation. Accordingly, A's share comes to 50,000 in the second bill. A's share comes to 50,000 in the second bill and B's share comes to 25,000. बराबर है? एक काट रहे तू 65%, 35% किधर से लेके आए रे? द रेशियो इज 2:1 ना. तो अब तुम्हारा पहला वाला बिल तो ऑलरेडी ऑनर हो चुका, पहले वाले बिल का कोई संबंध बचा नहीं. अब जो कुछ भी बचा है वो सिर्फ सेकंड बिल के रिलेशन में समझा हुआ है, बचा हुआ है. I cannot change it प्रणव. हाँ, तो अब दोनों का शेयर 2:1 हो गया. अब इसके पहले कि बी ए को पैसे भेजता, ए इंसॉल्वेंट हो गया. अब क्योंकि ए इंसॉल्वेंट हो गया तो बैंक पूरे 75,000 रुपए बी से रिकवर कर लेगी या नहीं? अब बी ने बैंक को पूरे 75,000 दे दिए, उसको मिले तो सिर्फ 25,000 थे. So he will be recovering, he is supposed to recover the balance of 50,000 from A or not. अब क्योंकि A insolvent हो गया है and only 50 paise in a rupee could be recovered, which means A will be recording the deficiency to the extent of 25,000 of the amount payable, that is 50,000 or not. So let's talk about the accounting entries in this case now. Number one, first bill drawn. What will be the entry? I am writing it in the shortcut just for the sake of understanding. Bills receivable debit 60,000 to B account 60,000. Correct or not? Remittance means sending the money. That is called as remittance. Yes or no? Remittance, bill discounted. First bill discounted. What will be the entry? Bank account debit 58,800. Discount account debit 1,200. Two bills receivable account 60,000. Am I right? Then remittance to B 19,600 भेजा था. अब ये जो 19,600 भेजा होगा वो ऑफ कोर्स 400 रुपए का डिस्काउंट रिकवर करने के बाद ही भेजा होगा. सो एंट्री विल बी व्हाट? B account debit 20,000 to bank account 19,600 to discount account, क्योंकि डिस्काउंट रिकवर किया इसलिए डिस्काउंट को क्रेडिट कर रहे हैं. यस और नो? 400 रुपए. Now on due date A should have remitted 40,000 to B. For that he would have passed the entry as B account debit to bank account, and B would have honored the bill. For that only B will pass the entry, A won't pass the entry for the honor of bill. पर A ने B को वो 40,000 नहीं भेजे, but instead of that क्या किया? उसने नया बिल एक्सेप्ट कर लिया. न्यू बिल एक्सेप्टेड. कितने का बिल एक्सेप्ट किया? 75,000 रुपीज का. सो व्हाट विल बी द एंट्री? बी अकाउंट डेबिट, क्योंकि बी के फेवर में एक्सेप्ट किया, 75,000 टू बिल्स पेएबल अकाउंट 75,000. अब ये जो नया बिल है ये डिस्काउंट कराया बी ने. So will there be any entry in the books of A? No, क्योंकि bill is discounted by B and not by A. So there will be no entry. But B ने उसमें से 9,000 रुपए after recovery of this discount of 1,000 भेजा है नहीं, तो पैसा आ रहा है ना A के पास. What will be the entry for that? For remittance received. What will be the entry? Bank account debit 9,000. Discount account debit, क्योंकि पैसा आ रहा है, 1,000 to B account 10,000. करेक्ट. इफेक्टिवली अगर आप ऑब्जर्व करो तो अब ए ने बी से 25,000 रुपए लेने बाकी हैं और वो 25,000 लेके पूरे 75,000 रुपए बैंक को देने हैं। कैसे? बिल 1 के 40,000 रुपए, बिल 2 में से 10,000 रुपए और मिल गए, टोटल 50,000। 25,000 बी का शेयर 75,000, ये 75,000 उठा के उसने बैंक को दे दिए होते। पर इसके पहले कि ये दिन आता, ए इंसॉल्वेंट हो गया, और क्योंकि ए इंसॉल्वेंट हुआ, दैट्स व्हाई you will be required to cancel the bill or not. Whenever the drawee becomes insolvent, you need to cancel the bill. So for cancellation of second bill, for cancellation of new bill, क्योंकि पहला वाला बिल ऑनर हो गया तो उसका कुछ संबंध नहीं बचा, सिर्फ सेकंड बिल का संबंध बचा हुआ है. You will pass the entries what? Bills payable account debit 75,000 to B account 75,000. Whenever the accommodation bill concept comes, और अगर डबल बिल वाला कंसेप्ट है तो ये टेबल बना के ही तुमको आंसर सॉल्व करना है, अपने आप सारी फिगर्स तुम्हारे सामने रहेगी. एंड फाइनली अगेंस्ट दैट 50,000 the amount paid is only 25,000 and remaining half is not been paid, that will be transferred to the deficiency account. So last entry for settlement, entry will be what? 50,000 का ही सेटलमेंट रहेगा अभी, क्योंकि 25 तो उससे मिला ही नहीं ना, वो मिलने के पहले ही इंसॉल्वेंट हो गया. So entry will be B account debit 50,000 to bank account 25,000 to deficiency account 25,000, क्योंकि बैंक ने ऑलरेडी पूरे 75,000 रुपए बी से रिकवर कर लिए हैं. And that's it. If you prepare the ledger account of B, you will ultimately find that it is getting tallied with all these entries that we have just passed. So what you have to observe is, you can have the screenshots of this immediately. What you can observe is, you have to prepare this table first, and then statement by statement, line by line, write the entries. All your answers will come correct. Friends, have confidence in yourself. Don't fear from anything. You'll always be finding that the things are quite simpler in our life. The things are quite clearer in our life because we look it in more clear way. All right. So please try understanding the things properly. Try to work hard, and surely we'll be meeting again, because abhi aur sessions bache hue hain. There are the topics remaining, and we'll surely be solving more questions. All right. So we'll meet in the next session. For now, I sign off. Thank you very much. The next schedule will be coming to you.